And for those of you still in the room then, I've got the great pleasure to announce our guest speaker this morning, Sarah. Sarah, if you'd like to come up. Let's give her a round of applause, please. So today is CAP Sunday, and we've done this several times in the last few years, and we've got some special visitors here as well that are going to give us a bit more information on that. But to lead us through the next half hour or so, Sarah, I'll let you explain the where, the why, and the what.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. It's absolutely wonderful to be here. Now, those of you who might have looked on the website, or I imagine they announced it last week, you were expecting Stuart McCulloch, who was the Chief Executive Officer. Well, I'm not Stuart, so sorry for the disappointment. You've got me instead. I'm Sarah Hayes. I'm Head of Church and Client Support at Christians Against Poverty, so that sort of heads up some of the central teams who will support a lot of the church teams out on the ground. And many years ago, I used to be a debt centre manager across in Altrincham. In case you're worried about my accent, it is a Scouse accent. I was in Liverpool on the other side of the water for Zachary for 20 years. So I don't think I'll ever get rid of my accent, which, to be honest, it's lovely to be amongst people who speak like me. So I'm across sort of Manchester direction, but I've been a debt centre manager. I worked in my local church. I was, when I joined CAP, I was an area manager, and actually I was area manager when this centre opened. So though I'm really sad that Stuart is ill, and we do pray that he gets well soon, and he's really gutted that he couldn't be here, and he will come at another point in time. Actually, to be able to come here, when a few years ago, and I remember Shirley just being so excited at the thought that there was going to be a centre in Wallasey, and she still is excited. But yeah, I remember coming here and sitting with Hannah, and we sat in the back, and it was very cold, I remember. One day sitting there in the cold with no heating on, doing like, how do we get this centre up and running? So it's just a real joy to be here with you today. Today, obviously, this is about the whole church is, partnering with CAP. It's really about celebrating all of you across Jubilee Church, Oasis Church, Hebron churches, churches all around the country who are partnering with CAP. And some of you here may have been supporters for a long time. Some of you might be, I don't even know what Christians Against Poverty is and to do. Well, hopefully by the end you'll get a bit more of a feel of that. But really today I want to talk about the Jesus way. It's about living like Jesus. Now, if you've got your Bible, great, you can get it out. Otherwise, the reading is going to be up on the screen. But I'm going to be reading from John chapter 13, reading verses 1 to 5, and then jumping through to verses 12 to 17. And I believe at the back, somebody's going to be clicking through for me. So we read, "It was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The evening meal was in progress, and the devil had already prompted Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. 'Do you understand what I have done for you?' he asked them. 'You called me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you should also wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Very truly I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them.'" So in the Gospels, there are many stories of Jesus having close encounters with people. So you may know some of the stories, such as, the woman at the well, the blind man, Zacchaeus, the tax collector. And many of these close encounters Jesus had with people were personal, they were face to face. And they all reveal to us Christ's gifts of discernment. He saw and he understood the deepest needs of the people he met, and he willingly and lovingly met those needs. He treated everyone with respect and dignity, especially those who were not used to receiving it. He was kind. In every case, he made God's love real in the life of the person that he was meeting. Jesus saw their potential, not just their current situation. So what was common about all these encounters? Transformation. God's love in Jesus brought hope and it brought healing. God's love in Jesus gave purpose and it gave perspective. And God's love gave people hope and it released the potential for the future. Now, transformation is at the heart of what Christians Against Poverty and the church has been partnering together for almost 30 years. Next year, we're going to get to celebrate our 30th anniversary, and that's something really looking forward to. Transformation is for those we serve, and it's for the people who find themselves at the sharp edge of poverty and debt. And I have to say as well, from experience, I know it also transforms those who get involved too. So there's some stats coming up on the screen now. So we are there for the 2.8 million people in the UK who've had to borrow money just to pay for household bills. The 1 in 10 adults who lose sleep every week because of their finances. Or the almost 1 in 5 adults who skip meals every month because they can't afford enough food. Poverty like this has a real impact on every part of people's lives. So I just want to read a few quotes from people who've experienced poverty firsthand. So someone said, "To go from a lively, bustling family home to a tiny, lonely flat, from a healthy bank balance to tens of thousands of pounds of debt. It affected my mental health massively. I just wanted to draw the curtains and hide away in the dark." Someone else said, "Debt destroys everything. Your relationships, your mental health, your confidence. It creeps up and devastates your life." Now, poverty steals hope. It steals dignity from those who are most vulnerable every day. But it does not have the final word, because God is working through his church to bring transformation. And this transformation, like those encounters with Jesus, comes in the form of a face-to-face encounter. CAP partners with churches who are inspired by the example of Jesus, those in society to bring the provision of expert financial advice, emotional, practical, and spiritual support. It's about all of these things. And it's invitation to join a warmth and the love of a local community. It's the warmth and love of a local community like Jubilee Church, like Oasis Church, like Hebron Church, like many churches around the country, a place of warmth and welcome. There's some more stats up on the screen here. So through churches partnering CAP, and these are stats from 2024, these face-to-face encounters have meant 316 people around the country have responded to Jesus for the first time, or they've recommitted to following him. There's been 638 households who've received emergency aid. So that's things like food shops or fuel vouchers when they've really desperately needed these essentials. There's been 2,436 people who've become debt-free. And I know, because I've seen, that it's those people who've come debt-free, but the impact, the ripple effect is much wider than that. And there's been 1,036 money coaching workshops delivered. And I know that's one of the things that you're going to be looking to do in the near future, is getting these off the ground and running. 123 job clubs currently running, 146 life skills groups. And I know there's a face out here I recognise from a video for life skills, and it's just wonderful to see about that whole thing about life skills has made such a difference and in this community. And that is all in, I think Shirley's just now excited beyond belief. But I think, in your Wallasey Debt Centre over the last year, you have seen 18 first appointments. So they are clients that you've gone into the homes of, you've helped, you've prayed for, you've supported them. In the last 2 years, there have been 10 people go debt-free from this centre. And that is much wider. So that's not 10, well, it is like there's 10 individuals, but there are 10 families. There are knock-on effects in terms of families who are just really impacted. So we're going to spend a little bit of time now just talking about one of the close encounters that Jesus had. And we're also going to hear about how through the local church, who have partnered with CAP, God is continuing to transform lives. And as we reflect, there's also that transforming love that is there for us all. So whether we feel trapped in terms of our circumstances or just whatever we are facing, God is there for us. He is there for the pain, for the past, for the present, and maybe fear for the future. And I personally always think back to a story of a woman I supported across in Altrincham, and just the transformation we saw in her life of the fear at the start around money worries and what that meant in terms of her life. But now actually she is befriending, she's on the community hub reception desk. She has shared her faith with her family. There has been a real ripple effect here. But from the most wealthy and privileged to those with very little money, rejected and despised, Jesus made face-to-face encounters, and he made space for everyone. And that includes you, and it includes me. So let's just look at one of those encounters now. So this is the lame man who couldn't walk. So reading from John chapter 5. Inside the city near the sheep gate was the pool of Bethesda, with 5 covered porches. Crowds of sick people, blind, lame, or paralyzed, lay on the porches. One of the men lying there had been sick for 38 years. When Jesus saw him and knew he had been ill for a long time, he asked him, "Would you like to get well?" "I can't, sir," the sick man said, "for I have no one to put me in the pool when the water bubbles up. Someone else always gets ahead before me." Jesus told him, "Stand up, pick up your mat, and walk." So here, Jesus makes the time and the space to listen to the man's story. He understands his situation. He hears the sadness, maybe even the self-pity felt, how defeated maybe he was, and how he possibly blames himself or others for his pain. His challenge went deeper than not being able to walk. We know that he faced isolation, he faced social poverty, because he had no one to put him into that pool for healing. He was most likely experiencing poverty in every way, that's spiritually, socially, personally, and materially. Notice how Jesus listens, and he doesn't judge. Instead, he's curious and he asks the question, "Do you want to be healed?" He's got empathy and compassion to understand how the man has been ground down by life and his situation. He meets the man where he is at, and he releases him from the limitations of the past, pain of the present, and restores him to a deeper hope for the future. Like the life of this man, living a life of debt has many implications, more than just the financial ones. So over half of CAP's clients are afraid to leave their home at times. Over 60% were afraid of a knock at the door, and nearly 9 in 10 have lost sleep. The church, alongside CAP, meets people in this poverty, whether that's material, social, spiritual, and personal. Jesus brought hope to that lame man, and he still brings hope today. So I want to introduce you to Bea in a minute. We're going to play a video. In June 2023, Bea and her husband were made redundant and their world was turned upside down. They'd gone from a steady income, good financial standing, to no jobs and falling behind with their payments. And Bea began to suffer from severe anxiety. She visited her GP, and on the way home, she saw a sign which read hope. Let's just watch Bea's story now. think we're just getting
My name's
this up.
Denise. Everybody calls me B for short. Ever since I was younger, I've always suffered with anxiety and really, really low moods. My way of dealing with it was I'd try and do it, and if I couldn't do it, I'd get angry at myself that I couldn't do it. Then it'd build onto something else, something else, something else. Well, you're no good at that, you're no good at that. Then the negativeness would come in, which was really, really hard. My name's Bernice. Everybody calls me B for short. I'm married to my husband, Keith. Last June, I was really in a poorly state. I was doing the job, but there wasn't enough money coming in. My husband was struggling himself with arthritis, but my mental health deteriorated, and then being told we'd been made redundant. So I was scared of being on the streets. I was scared of thinking, I'm going to lose our home. My husband was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do, what are we going to do? And I'm like, Keith, I can't think. My anxiety would be through the roof. My head would be banging. I feel sick. And I'm going to cry now. I'm so sorry. Because it was such, sorry. It was so hard. And then me and Keith were at each other, and I said, we shouldn't have got together, we shouldn't have got married, we wouldn't have had all this. And I'm so sorry, I'm going to cry. I don't know why I'm crying, I'm so sorry. It just broke me down. And poor Keith, I've never seen him so low. And that was just because of money. And we tried to figure out if we were entitled to anything, if we could get anything, and nobody could give us any information, nobody would tell us anything. So we were in the dark because we've always been workers, we've never had to ask for money, we've always worked. But I just couldn't figure it out. And I remember my mental health nurses saying to me, why do you punish yourself thinking you can't do that? But that's how my anxiety and my depression works. I seem to kick myself when I'm down. Went back on, started on medication for antidepressants. And had a good chat with my doctor. I just cried all day. She was brilliant. As I was coming out, my doctor's is just over the road from the church, and normally I walk round the pathway. But today, on that day, I walked through the churchyard, just about to walk away. I didn't know what it was at the time, but something made me turn back and go, no, come on, B, look at it again. And I looked at it and I went, it says hope. And I just had this realisation that I'd lost all my hope. And that's what I needed. I remember Barney just saying, hello, welcome to hope. And I just burst into tears. I couldn't stop crying. And I thought, I remember saying, I'm so sorry. And there was like, it's okay. Just cry, it's okay. You've come to a safe place. You've come to somewhere where you can just relax, you know. When it's been a rainy day and the sun comes out, that's how it felt. Like we'd come out the dark into the light. So Barney came round and explained what CAP do, and he explained about all the paperwork. We were told that we could get a debt relief order because we're in that much debt and we were on benefits and getting universal credits. And also we were told a calculation of how much extra we could get. CAP sorted it all out. They were ringing us in between saying they were in the middle of it, and they were constantly in touch with us. Amazing people, you know, I can't thank them enough. And then we got the debt relief order, and it meant that we were clear of debt. And it was just such an amazing thing. It's just like this amazing feeling of relief and like a lift, you know. I've just become a befriender with CAP, which I'm excited about. I've done other courses as well, with CAP as well. I did the life skills one, which was another good one. I've learned to be able to grow again. I've learned to say, you know what, B, you're all right, girl, you know, you're fine. People are happy with you, your family love you. All this love you've got around you, which you didn't think you had. We went through all that hardship, and then suddenly that hardship's gone, and it meant we could go forward, you know, but in a better place together.
Poverty steals, God restores. What part will you play? Let's end UK poverty together. Pray, campaign, donate.
That story is just great, isn't it? I just think that thing of where hope has come in, and it came in because of the power of the local church, which is what Barney's doing. It's what Hannah is doing here along with you. B was introduced to CAP for expert debt advice and support, and Barney guided B and her husband through the whole process. She's a befriender, and she's now got a renewed sense of faith in God. And the thing I'd say is, I just want to say, there's some stuff touched on in that video, and I think for you, if you've been touched by some of the stuff, the content, do reach out after the service. Don't leave here today without speaking to somebody. So Barney, the debt coach in that story, and hundreds like him, have served. They've been freeing people. They've been showing people their God-given potential. That's what they're doing. They're meeting people face to face, loving them and seeing lives transformed. And its church is bringing an end to poverty and to debt across the country. So with CAP partnering with them, they're working with people who've got complex challenges, which make it hard to escape these situations. So it is the mental health, it's the relationship breakdowns, it's addiction, it's experience of abuse, disability, and others. And they approach everyone with care, with compassion, determined there's going to be no barriers from God's love. No barriers from being shown in practical, emotional, and spiritual support. There's no barriers to seeing an end to their debt and restoring their financial dignity. There's no barriers to welcome that people will receive from the local church. And this takes us back to our first reading, when Jesus began a community based on love and service. Founded in that moment when Jesus, having had his meal with his friends, he took a towel and a bowl of water and he knelt down and washed their feet. Surely the most intimate encounter. And they belonged to the body of Christ from that moment. But that came with a command to love and to serve one another, to have the kind of ministry of service that he had shown them. CAP's central value for all we do is that we are Christ-centered, and that means putting Jesus first always. Jesus first always. Jesus is our model, and Jesus is our way. In all the close encounters that Jesus had with people, he not only preached the love of God or prayed about the love of God, he lived the love of God. In every close encounter, Jesus made real, unconditional, extravagant, sacrificial love. He showed that to people, releasing them from the limitations of the past, pain of the present, and releasing them into the hope of the future. And this is our model. So that's why over the country there are 3,000 local CAP workers in churches all around the country, in some respects, are living out Jesus with a figurative towel and water. It's not glamorous, but it's full of face-to-face encounters, which is all about releasing people from that pain. But this calling to serve their community isn't just for them. It's for every follower of Jesus. It's for every one of us. And today I want to invite you to be a part of that movement, to play your part in this. Every one of us can make a difference. And I want to give you 3 ways to be involved. So the first one is to pray. Prayer is powerful. We heard the story, didn't we, earlier? Sorry, I don't know the lady's name on the front row. She came up and she shared that story about somebody praying for her and what an absolute difference it made. So how can you pray? Can you get hold of CAP's prayer newsletter? Can you be part of Hannah's prayer team, praying for this work? As people go into those homes, prayer makes a massive difference. And you can be upholding the team, you can be upholding those clients, lifting them before God. Can you give? So can you financially give to support the work of the Wallasey Debt Centre? So there are lots of costs incurred in running a debt centre locally. Can you stand alongside that centre and give regularly? There's also the opportunity to give to CAP centrally, so there's lots of central running costs as well. And you're able to make a monthly gift to that. You can do a one-off donation. And people who give sort of regular gifts are what's called life changers, because that's what they're doing. they're transforming, making a difference to people's lives. So if you're interested in wanting to give, there will be a QR code coming up on the screen. You can talk to us at the desk later on. And anyone sort of giving in terms of setting that up, there is a sort of free book called God in Action, which you can take away. And finally, think about serving. Now, I know from experience of running a debt centre myself, or just as I engage with debt centre managers around the country, that this is not a one-man or a one-woman ministry. It takes lots and lots of people with God-given gifts to use them. Now, I know from Shirley's perspective in terms of the money coaching, she's going to need support in terms of that. Reach out to Shirley. Shirley's going to be around at the back later on. But I'm going to invite Hannah up now because I'd just like to hear a little bit from Hannah about what is it that running the debt centre that she needs. So, Hannah, can you just give us maybe, if I was to say to you your main prayer points right now, what would they be? And then also, what support do you need within the centre right now?
Thank you. The main prayer support we need is to have more volunteers. We're really struggling with people befriending. And like Sarah's just said, we can't run the centre without befrienders. They're amazing people. Honestly, I can't say that enough. I have, all my befrienders here. We also need prayers for our clients because we do walk into situations that is in need of light, and we need people to pray because sometimes it's so difficult to push through, and we need prayer for that as well. I'm just going to invite Sarah and Pam and Dion. So Dion and Sarah are our past clients, and also Pam has volunteered to also talk a little bit about befriending. Please, can you come forward? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, yeah.
You sure?
Thank you.
Yeah? Good. So we'd just like to know from a client perspective, what do you think when you got in touch with CAP and what difference make that to you?
I was just in a dire situation. And to give me hope, like, I can't say anymore, sorry. But Hannah and sorry, Pam, I always forget names. They've been wonderful and they've really, really helped me so much. Thank you.
And for you, Pam, your first encounter, meeting Sarah. And what do you think, the difference from when we first met her and, continuation of the coffees, the Jubilee 121 visits and,
When I first met Sarah, she was a walking wreck. She invited us into her home. She paced that floor up and down like a new dad expecting their first baby. And she kept saying, I'm sorry, I'm dead nervous. I'm really sorry, I'm dead nervous. I don't know what to say. I took her in my arms, gave her a hug. She said, I'll make us a cup of coffee. Come on, music to my ears. Coffee for me, tea for Hannah. Have one for yourself. 2 minutes later, she comes back and she says, I'm so sorry, I've forgotten what I was doing and I forgot what you wanted. Coffee for me, music to my ears, tea for Hannah.
That's me, yeah.
3 or 4 minutes went by and I said to Hannah, where's she gone for that coffee? Brazil? She come back and she says, I'm so sorry, I can't do this. So I said, give her a hug, passed her over to Hannah, said, I'll make the coffee. And that's what a befriender does. A befriender is there for that person. I've kind of gone above and beyond to make it extra special because it's a friend. That person needed a friend, and I was her friend that day, and I've been her friend ever since. She couldn't go out. She's brought to one-to-one. She's been on holiday with her sister. I've even met her in town, haven't I? She's just a completely changed person. From when we first seen her, she was a shadow of herself. She's come out, and she's been really, really brilliant. And I'm proud to say I'm her befriender.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. The same thing for Dion as well. So Dion met with myself and Chantal. Unfortunately, Chantal is not here today, so Chantal was her befriender. We're just going to hear from her as well, our experience with the center, what that's, the difference it made to her life and the support she received as well.
To fully grasp the support that I had, it would be helpful to just share very quickly what poverty looked like for me. So for me, poverty looked like living in a 4-bedroomed house that I owned with my name on it. I owned a car. I was a single parent. I have a disability, a long-term neurological condition, which means I can only work from home. So it limits my job opportunities significantly. Poverty meant that I took on a second job. I became a builder and turned my 4-bedroom house into a 5-bedroomed house. I became a landlady. I started hosting international students. I became a cook. I was cleaning up after people. From the outside looking in, you would never know that I was living in poverty and I was doing all of these extra things to earn an income and running myself into the ground, which eventually happened. I had several stays in hospital, which meant I couldn't look after my students, I couldn't look after my daughter, couldn't look after my dog. And so it meant I had to let go all of my students. So now I'm in a 5-bedroom house that I can't afford to live in, unable to work, and things deteriorated really, really quickly. And I knew I had to go for help after going to contacting the council to get a parcel from the food bank, which I never expected in my life. I've always worked. I left home at 15, so I'm a very independent person. I've had, 30 odd years of, managing my life, managing my money, building a career. So when I got in touch with CAP, it was actually because I had a friend here at Jubilee Church, who's also not here today, Di Jones, and she'd been supporting CAP, and I was like, oh, let me contact CAP. And the first person who came round was Hannah, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was so excited because I hadn't spoken to anybody about it, and I'd actually been living in this poverty area for about 4 years until I collapsed with the weight of trying to bear all these financial burdens. You were amazing, Hannah. You made me feel like I wasn't on my own. You made me feel like there was a light at the end of the tunnel, that you were there to bear my burdens in a way that I just, hadn't really experienced before. My befriender was Chantal, who's not here today. She was amazing. We did things like we took my little nephew and her daughter, we took them swimming. And it sounds like a dumb thing, but honestly, it brought me the greatest joy and relaxation. We did things like took our dogs for a walk or just sat and had coffee. And they were both at the end of, a WhatsApp message because I couldn't sleep because I was freaking out about whatever it was. And praise God, through their help and the help with the financial assessment people at the centre, they came up with a 3-year plan for me to get out of debt. God did it in a year. And now I still own a house. It's much smaller, something that I can manage. I've still got a car. I think Denise said, you look really well. I said, yeah, because I'm no longer working 2 jobs, trying to juggle the whole world. And I'm so, so grateful.
Thank you. It's very important what God is doing. And it just takes a good courage for us to say, yes, I want to be part of that. Honestly. Lives are changing, I can tell you that. And we have some clients who can be in front and they can be here, but they've sent some voice notes or messages and where their life was and where their life is right now. And it's just taking a great deal of prayers, support from this amazing befrienders, Mike, Andy, Chantel, Sue, but we need more people to volunteer their time. You don't have to have, many clients to befriend. Just one client at a time, changing one life at a time with the help of God. Amen? Thank you.
It's hearing these stories that is just what it's about. It's about that, as we said, that one life transformed at a time. I want to encourage you, if you're thinking, oh, well, I couldn't become a befriender, or I don't think I'd be very good at that, give it a go. I would say it's one of these things that, you could try. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. You could find out a little bit more about it. But it takes all kinds of people to do it. Because if you think every client you go to is different, and actually what you need is, a man in his 60s and you need a woman in their 30s. You need, like a whole mix of people. And I think what's really fascinating is sometimes that how God takes some of your own experiences, some of your story, and enables you to speak into somebody else's situation. And that's what I was always blown away by at times, where if I look back, I'm still in touch with people who were clients like 10, 12 years ago, where the befriender has just formed a friendship and a connection. It's just wonderful to see. So do talk to us at the end about that. But so to end today, I just want to take us back to the overarching message of following Jesus. We're all followers of Jesus. We're all called, we're all anointed to make God's love real. We're called to announce good news to the poor. So that is our purpose and that is our privilege. And I just want to invite you today to join in that. So can we just pray as we end this bit? Father God, I just want to thank you now. I want to thank you that you just care deeply and intimately about everyone in this world. That whatever their situation, that you want to bring people out of pain and despair, and you want to release them into that situation of hope and being part of your community here. And Lord, I just want to pray for the team here. I want to pray your blessing on them. I want to pray for people maybe listening today who are thinking, could I? Is this something I could get involved with? Lord, may you just speak to us each individually. Father God, I want to just thank you. I just want to thank you for all that you're doing in the life of this church, across Wallasey, for Hebron, for Oasis. Lord, I just want to thank you now. And Lord, may we just take this message today of being more like you, of following the Jesus story. Amen.
Let's show Sarah some appreciation, I think. Brilliant, thanks, Shirley. Thank you, Sarah. Shirley, do you want to just talk for a moment about what's coming up in the near future? There should be a slide, apparently.
I love CAP, and I love the way we see lives transformed. But how I started with CAP was getting involved with CAP Money. And one of my old buddies, Steve's here today, and we led loads of courses until I then got involved with life skills. But here, we are now launching money coaching here and at Oasis. Have you found the slide? There's definitely a slide somewhere, I believe. Ooh. So the money coaching course is for everybody. You might think, I'm fine. I don't need to worry about my money. Well, some people might feel like that, mightn't they? But have you ever thought about putting a budget together
and realising how much of it you don't actually know what's happening to your money. It's there 1 minute and it's gone the next. The money course is brilliant, the budgeting. Tom, our lives have been changed by the course, haven't they? When we think of what we want, we think, is it just something we want? Is it something we need? Can we afford it? And we still, 12, 13 years later, are going on this system. So we would love to see as many of you as can make it on our courses. The first course starts on Saturday at Oasis. And can I bribe you? Free breakfast at 9:30. And Hannah, our dear Hannah, and Steve from Hebron will be leading that course. It'll start about 10 o'clock. They'll be done by noon. It's for 4 weeks, 4 sessions. Okay, you don't want to get up on a Saturday, we can't bribe you with breakfast. How about a Tuesday evening? Lynn, that many of you know, Angela's dear wife, again, can't be here. Her and I will be leading a course here Tuesday evenings, starting the 4th of November. We'll be meeting in the cosy youth room. We'll give you a quick drink and a biscuit or piece of cake when you arrive. It'll start at 7 o'clock. We hope to whiz through it in an hour and a half a session. We're giving it 4 sessions. We'll see how we go. But please do consider, how can I manage my money better? What does it say in the Bible? We should all be good stewards of what God has given us. Let's think on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Okay then, so what have we heard this morning? Let me pull together some of those threads. So from Denise's word in the worship, that restoration is part of God's plan for us individually. Restoration of health or wealth, physically and spiritually. And indeed the ultimate restoration of a personal relationship with every single one of us. From Mercy's testimony, that God is at work today in our lives, and he wants us to put our trust in him. He doesn't want us to carry our burdens alone, but to hand them over to him. And then from Sarah's word and the testimonies of Hannah, of Sarah, of Pam and Diane, and well done, Sarah. It takes a lot of bravery to come up to the front, and well done you for that. That poverty steals, but God restores. What part will we play, and how will we live the Jesus way? So maybe today, your prayer is about a burden that you're carrying and your need of Jesus in that circumstance. And you will know if that's you. Or maybe today, your prayer is about how you can help, how you've been spiritually stirred, and what kind of serving is Jesus calling you to in the specific work CAP is doing. Now, as a church and as a leadership team, we've been supporting CAP for the last 3 years or slightly more, and we see this as a really important part of our ongoing outreach in this area. So as we stand and as we worship again, let's use the next few minutes just to open our hearts prayerfully to what God is saying to us individually today. Let's hear his word and let's prayerfully act on it. So please, let's stand now as we worship again.